Good evening, Brother Joe, and all Tzu Chi brothers and sisters. Thank you for giving me a chance to share tonight with my very limited understanding of episode 801 of Lotus Sutra. And also, this is my first time to use English to share Dharma. So before I started, right, I would like all of you to close your eyes right now and feel it. Can everybody close your eyes? I would like you to imagine that we all are together with Master and also with Buddha at Kitakuta Hill. We all there 2,000 years ago. Yes. Can you all of you open your eyes now? So do you can I have some feedback of just now when I play the song, right? Who actually really imagine that you are there? Or who then you type one? Who actually think that, quickly you may finish it, have something else to do. So can you guys give me the feedback? Sister Siu Ching, can you help me to look at the feedback?
Sure, Sister Yoke Mei.
One is, let's say you're really there. Another two is means that your mind is floating to another places. So Sister Siu Ching, can you see our participants here? One or two is more majority.
Majority one. In fact, all one except for one person, only two. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I think all of the Tzu Chi member here, we really cultivate ourselves every day with Master Dharma. If I actually tested it with ordinary people, we all think of like what we need to cook later, tomorrow, what we need to do later. Can I, do revision with my kids? So actually, it's very difficult to an ordinary person to focus right now because like this is yesterday 8,000 cases and 9,000 cases today reported as a COVID-19 per day. So when can we see the beach and when can we back to the normal life? So our life actually is more miserable and more affliction right now because of those are some things that we cannot control. Those are the areas that we don't know, we are not in power. So a lot of people actually facing this financial problem right now. So you can see in Malaysia, every day, every 4 days, there one person committed suicide, and also our committed suicide rate is about 20-30% more than last year first quarter. So like what Master say is that our life is more miserable and pain than than happiness. So this chapter also talking about that the good news is all of us have the Buddha nature, and it's very important to cultivate our spiritual cultivation, and also to awaken our Buddha nature. So, and look at the onion. Our afflictions is like the onions, like layer by layer, which actually cover off our Buddha nature. So there is the way. What is the way to peel off all the afflictions and see our real us, with the Buddha nature? So Master also mentioned that for this spiritual cultivation in this Sangha world, there's lots of things that as a Tzu Chi members that we need to actually stand to run whatever comes to us, and this is very difficult path. But when I read this sentence, right, I think we are considered very lucky, because I think 55 years ago, Master and the first all the disciples at the times, right, they eat just the tofu and the porridge day by day. It's just to actually make sure we have a very smooth path right now for us to easily do Tzu Chi work, voluntary works. So the spiritual cultivation is difficult, because sometimes when we have sometimes when we face any challenges, right, sometimes we may act very addicted with like, I'm so sad I lost my money, I'm so sad I don't have much to eat. So but very least like focus on what can we change our state. So and to change our state, right? So I think this is very good tools that Master share with us in this chapter is we used to have a very small love, like we are just love our family members and friends and colleagues, the people surrounding us. But in the Tzu Chi path, that we learn to actually give our love to a wider, broader world. It's just like this picture, like when someone asking for help, right? And although we are actually still in the water, but we still, give our hands down and try to pull the person up. So it's not that we are very good already and we have a lot of money, then we can start like go to the people and help people, but and contribute to the society. But in fact, even we are still in the pool, with the Dharma, we try to pull some other people up. So in these chapters is like we, through giving, right, and also every day listen to the Dharma, we actually can peel off our afflictions layer by layer. And in Tzu Chi world is like we are all small love come together and do something big. And in these chapters, Buddha also actually in the Sangha world for 49, talking about Dharma for 49 years. And first 12 days is Avatamsaka, and after that will be Agama Sutra. Agama Sutra is like the Buddha shared with us, like each individuals that we have a different way to awaken their Buddha nature, and therefore there are many ways to help people. And also each individual is we can write a sutra. So and for the Vaipuya Sutra for 8 years is from small to big vehicles, and for Prajna Sutra is Boye Jing, is actually saying that we can give and without asking for returns, and also talking about the emptiness, Kong. And the last 8 years is Lotus Sutra, what we are practicing right now. And we vow to back to Sahawa to practice our life, have a spiritual cultivation like Chi Zilu. So I would like to share with you what I see in this during this COVID-19. In the Agama Sutra, we say the 12 years. So everyone is a sutra that and what I'm actually enjoying right now is every day 1:15, right? Our entrepreneurs group, they will ask volunteers to share about songs, our Qi Dao songs, and also their life experience. So, and through other people's life experience that I enjoy, because I learn from them. And I learn sometimes that their challenges can be more than me, but anyhow, they actually can overcome it. I do not need to actually go through it myself, then learn, but I can learn from other people's story. And I can show you the picture here, and this couple is my client, and this is another very good my girl the schoolmate's mom, right? They are not Tzu Chi volunteers, but when we say that we need someone to help to prepare lunch for the doctors and nurses, the frontliner, they extend their help. So although they are actually, all these entrepreneurs, they are facing challenges in their life, they are there to actually teach us about the giving, the seize the opportunity to give. And this is my neighbor on the left, right? And the couples actually, the husband is still not volunteers yet, and also the wife is just a normal 见习菩萨, but both of the couples actually join our vaccination center as a volunteers, and the young kids, they taking care of themselves at home. So it's from all of their life story that we learn some things. And this couple, actually, they are actually in beauty salon business, but every month they're losing money. And this is the day before yesterday. They actually, instead of facing all the challenges, problems every day in their business, they actually seize all the opportunity to help others. So, and in the Ahan Jing also, in this chapter 801, it's like the Buddha will actually come to our Sangha world with maybe in different states, so we cannot recognize this is the Buddha. So this is story about yesterday. So this is in the vaccination center. So this uncle, right, he's riding his motorbike for about 20 kilometers to our Jingsi Tang, and he bring 4 bottles of this water. And he bring the money, the old time, our parents, we use the money and use the rubber band, right? And we our volunteers thought that, hey, do you want to, is it you want to donate or you want to take vaccination? He said, no. I really pleased that, very happy that our Tzu Chi volunteers about giving. I heard that, so I'm so happy. So therefore, I want to give my part. This is my little money. So I would like to, I need to donate and help others people. So, and also here there's also in the in our transport groups, right? We also have people to come to walk in and scolded our volunteers and say that Tzu Chi 不是来帮人的吗？我要打疫苗，为什么你不给我打？ And they pointed at our brothers, right? So but if let's say this brother is an entrepreneur as well, but if let's say when he's the boss at the office space, he will say that, he will go back, right? But our brother is very nice. He actually said that he's wearing the blue uniform, so he need to represent Tzu Chi. Therefore, he actually very, very patient to this person and let the person just go at him, and he just try to explain nicely about the procedure. So it show me that the cultivations of the spiritual mind is very, very difficult. And in the Waipuya Sutra, Fang Den Jing, 8 years, right? It's more on the small to big vehicles. So we need to make a big vow and fasting Li Yuan. So I'd like to share with you the story about this sister Adeline. She's the nurse who do the jab for every day, every Saturday for our all the public, right? She told me that she has very young children at home, like myself also. So but she sees the opportunity. She's not a really like gray uniform, whatever, but she made a big vow, a great vow to say that I need to do it because I need to help Malaysia, to have Malaysian people to have vaccination faster. And also this Dr. Embry actually heard about vaccination center through a WhatsApp group, his husband doctor's WhatsApp group. He just register as a volunteers without knowing what is Tzu Chi, and I explained to her. So when I explained to her, she actually, the next actually last Saturday I met her, right? Then previous Friday. So then I invite her last Saturday, say that, oh, the doctors is enough already, but do you want to join me as an usher on Saturday? She said, of course, yes. So I can see all these people, it's like they actually start to turn from the small to the big vehicles, more love in our family to the greatest society. And in Fang Den Jing, for small to big vehicles, I can also see in the young children. These two children is my neighbor children, and I say that their parents actually contribute to Vaccination Center, and they actually they really give the support to their mom and say that, I'm so proud of you, mommy. And this is my girl Wen Yan, and I am, because they cannot go to school. We can see the school every day. We purposely move our house near to the school because we just want to spend more time I can actually help in the school because this is new school, right? In Tzu Chi, the first school, I want to make it good, and my girl also looking forward because she's the first batch of children, but we cannot go to school for almost 1.5 years. So so sometimes we walk to buy bread, walk to the grocery shop, and she see the rubbish on the floor. She said that, I love my planet. So she's vegetarian, and her whole family is vegetarian. And therefore she said that, Mom, can I clean up the road on the way to the grocery shop, also the same path to the school? So I can see that she didn't complain about cannot go to school and very long hours in using the internet, but she start like picking up all the rubbish on the floor. So so this is also I can see from the little children that I can learn from them. So in the Bo Ye Jing, 22 years, right? And we say that we give, and we give. But that master say, hey, you give and you shouldn't expect any return, so 付出无所求, and it's emptiness. I really love the concept of emptiness because some of us, like, we have lots of like 自着, so this causes a lot of affliction. This is mine, this is yours. So the emptiness in these chapters, Master share with us that it's all on the karma, right? So 父精母血, so we are here in this world. Therefore, we are one human being in this state of life. So so at end of the day is all empty. So therefore, for me, the interpretation is, why shouldn't I use this opportunity to give the best for this the best contribution that I can, and whatever how small it is, I do my very, very best. So for 22 years, we talk about Bo Ye Jing. So therefore, it actually, when I read this sentence, right, I do not have any, I really do not have any things that I cannot flex myself. I remember in 2018 when I was in Myanmar, and at the time that I'm so happy on doing all the Tzu Chi path, and I remember we are in the motorbike, and suddenly a lot of sands, very dusty, and all the mouth and my ears and my eyes is all the little sands, 沙尘滚滚. Then I remember what Master said, that we need to like 缩小自己, right? Then we only can go into people's heart. So I'm very ego person, and also like very stubborn in the past life, and right now still, yes, but I'm improving. So I'm like, yes, it's so important for us to practice the humble, and also who am I, what am I great about. So it's more on our purpose of life is really on cultivations. It's not about we need a big house or cars or Porsche or something. So in the last 8 years that Buddha talked about Lotus Sutra, and all of us here, and what the beauty is, like I take this picture. I took this picture in the vaccination center, and in the Lotus Sutra, it doesn't say that we have, because everybody have a Buddha nature, right? So we have this Sifu. She's really, she actually spread the Dharma, is her day by day life, but she really is very, very phobia with that jab. But we have Sister Xiaoming. She know that this master, she's with this Sifu actually very phobia with vaccination. So she hold her hand so throughout the whole process, and try to comfort her. So I think in the Lotus Sutra, the best is like we want to come back to Saha world life after life, because we still need to improve ourselves, right? Until we actually can Lai Qu Zilu. So so this is very, very I think we should proud of us, and we should be very happy for ourselves. We are Tzu Chi members, because with this COVID-19, like what Master said, that we cannot see the end. Yes, in Malaysia, we cannot see the end, because the case is increasing and the suicide rate is increasing, and more people lose their job and lose their income. But in Tzu Chi, we actually have many ways to give ourselves back to society, and what our needs actually already reduced. Materialistic needs we actually reduced to very, very minimum. So we are so glad that we have in this Tzu Chi boat. So that's all for my sharing and my little understanding of chapter 801 today. Thank you so much, and thank you. And over to you, Brother Joe.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Sister Yoke Mei. And I think there was a very good. It's a very good balance between stories, your own stories, as well as the knowledge and the wisdom that was taught within the episode itself. I wanted to. Can you go back to the page where you have the various stages?
Okay.
The various stages. I really like how, right, thank you. It's wonderful how you're able to expand it and say, go through each various stages. I think one of the part about this particular episode talks about the grandness of the heart, or the expanse of the heart. If you can expand your heart or your horizon or your mind to include as much as possible, then I think what it's trying to say is that then you essentially will be able to understand and feel and have the wisdom to understand all. And I think that is exactly what this arrow is telling us, is the process of growing that expanse, the process of growing and expanding that heart. So Sister Yoke Mei started with closing our eyes and imagining. I think we all can dream and we all can imagine. So we start to imagine that we are with Master. We start to imagine that perhaps we were 2,500 years ago. We were with the Buddha. Okay, we're together at Vulture's Peak. However, when you open your eyes, is that so? It's not. So now we're back to the very, very right now, which is Agama, which is right now. So for those 12 days, the very beginning, the 12 days, that's more like the state, the idea, right? So the 12 days is the state of mind where, understanding the truth and explaining the truth, and nobody understood it, right? Well, because just like you said, if you write down one or if you write down two, and most of us, we wrote down one, right? And that's exactly right. Not many people wrote down one at the time when the Buddha mentioned this. Probably most of them wrote down two, or most of them don't even write down anything. And that's exactly it, because they couldn't feel that state. They couldn't understand. And therefore, you need to have all this process. But I think towards the end, you're beginning to take us through the different sutras to understand the emptiness and the wondrous existence, and sharing with their stories about, I think it was Sister Adeline and also Dr. Embry, and talking about the young children and how they're, how Sister Adeline, even though not exactly a uniform volunteer yet, but was willing to help Malaysia vaccinate it. I want to point that out. Yes, we are helping these people, but do you feel the same about them than if you would feel about your own children? I think there's still a difference. Okay, a couple of days ago, I think, no, it was yesterday. We had a session with Indonesia, and one of the master that was in the session talked about that master took this path, which is very difficult. And I countered that question by saying that, well, I think married life is even more difficult because you have all the in-laws, and you have, you have to take it up with your husband or your wife, and it, a lot of times, you just can't run away from these things, and it gets worse. No, well, it doesn't get worse. It gets good. Okay, but anyway, it's actually very difficult. It's a lot of the cultivation, but I asked the master, then doesn't that mean that you took the easy way out by rejecting to have that challenge in life? If you are married, by having a spouse, it's actually saying that, yes, I am willing to take up this challenge to live with another person who has probably very different thinking than I do. And the master said, no, in fact, it's the opposite. She said that our master basically took the entire world as her children. And because of doing that, the suffering and the pain becomes even greater. Imagine if it were your relative or your friends that were infected with COVID-19 or sick and ill with COVID-19. Now, multiply that by tens of millions. That's how it feels. And that's what happens when Master expanded the heart to encompass all. And that's what this chapter, this episode is talking about. That this is the arrow, this is the step that slowly takes us to expand our heart so that we see everybody more not as others, but as ourselves. So I think that's why your daughter started to pick up rubbish, because she realized that it's not just my school, it's not just my home or my path to school or to the grocery store, it's our planet. And I think that is the process of walking this path. No matter how small it seems, just picking up that rubbish, no matter how small it seems, that's already on that path. So I would like to say that towards the end, the Lotus Sutra is when supposedly all the disciples supposedly are able to encompass all. But through there, at first, you need to get to know it, right? You want to encompass all, you need to get to know. Just like all those friends that you might otherwise know, just like that uncle who came over with that roll of money in the rubber band and the bottle of water, right? You would not have known him and you would not have known his story, but now you know. So before you're able to encompass all, you need to get to know them. And then you need to learn from them. And then you need to be part of them. And then you get to be one of them. And then eventually one with all. And I think that's how you're able to encompass all. But it takes steps. And that's exactly what you have in that slide where you have all the steps. It's hard. And that's why we're starting at the very beginning, where how do you love those people that you don't know? Well, then get to know them first. And that's what we're trying to do right now. So I think that's exactly what Master is doing, is to take us through that steps. For 49 years, that's what the Buddha taught us. And so for 55 years, that's what the Master shared with us to take us on that path. So thank you, Sister Yoke Mei, for your sharing. Even though you said that this is your first time doing this in English, it sounded wonderful. It sounded very fluent, and it sounded just like you're doing this every day. So thank you, and we look forward for you to share more in the future. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Joe. Brother Joe, I don't know whether you still remember me. And when I was impatient, right, once a day, I asked Brother Joe about, we impatient, we have to read all the books, right? We have to write the book, we have to have the book review. And at the time, I asked you a question, brother, every time I just read for a few chapters and I fall asleep. And when I wake up the next day, I have to start from page 1 again. So I asked you, what should I do? And at that time, you told me that close your eye and imagine you are there. You are in the virtual path together with the Buddha. So just close your eye and you are there. Just trust yourself. And at the time, I look at your facial impression of like you're really, really, really at the virtual peak. Your facial impression told me that this is in year 2017, right? 16. I just joined Tzu Chi for about 2 years. 2015, just joined Tzu Chi for about 1.5 years. And at the time I went back home, I actually tried to close my eyes and imagine I was there and never leave. I know all this. I tried to convince myself, I'm quite timid about that. I never learned like a sutra. I never have any link to any friends with who are Buddhism, any religions before I joined Tzu Chi. At the time, it's my second year knowing Tzu Chi. So then I try to imagine. And after that, when I open the books, right, I'm like flip through the books very, very fast. I'm like, oh, I know this. Oh, wow, wow, wow. So, and I actually really wait, and I'm in tears. I'm really in tears about, I really feel that the book is, the master is in front of me and the Buddha is in front of me and the book is the Buddha and master. So I need to thanks Brother Joe for giving me the right path many years ago. So I'm still very, very really enjoy my Tzu Chi path. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Yoke Mei, for sharing that with me. If you asked me the same question today, would I have given you the same answer? And the answer is probably no, because at different times, probably at that time, that's what I also needed at that time. I'm also using that way to help myself and guiding myself. And perhaps that's what I got at the time too. So you asked me at the right time for that question. And so I give you that answer, which happened to help you. If you ask me today the same question, I would probably tell you, great, then you would become the expert of the first 20 pages, because every time you read them and you stop there at 20 pages, and the next time you read them again, it starts at over there, 1 to 20 pages again. And then you become the very, very expert. Every time somebody asks you about what this book talks about, you get to share with them all the very important details of that 20 pages. And that's fine too. And once you get there, maybe you get to feel that once you are the expert of the first 20 pages, you will be able to move to the next stages. And that's fine too. Okay, so whatever the answer is, whoever that's listening online right now, maybe you're still having the same issue and maybe not. But if anybody comes to ask you those questions, yes, you can imagine, you can use different ways, but however it is, accept it and absorb it. And I think that's the most important thing. So thank you, Yoke Mei. And that really, perhaps that's the answer. You know, a lot of movies, they have these time traveling, aspect of the movies in the drama, right? And then usually it will be something like, I leave a mark for the future me. Okay, so who knew? Maybe what you were just telling me right now is what I need right now. But who knew that was given to you by myself back in 2017? That's very possible too, because right now, perhaps that's exactly the answer I need, even though that's not the answer that I will give you right now, which means I'm already at a different state of mind. So maybe I need to look back to about 4 or 5 years ago why I was thinking that way and how it had given you so much energy. Maybe that's what I need right now. Thank you. Thank you, Sister Yoke Mei. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I believe now we are moving on to our next presenter, Brother PS.
Hi, Brother Joe. That's
Hello.
me. Hello. I guess you guys could hear me, right? Do you want to continue? I'm going to override Sister Yoke Mei, your presentation, yeah?
Okay.
Okay. I guess this is are you in a full screen mode? You guys can see in a full screen, right?
I think both sides, your notes as well. The full screen.
We're seeing the presenter view. We're seeing the
Presenter
presenter
view.
view. Yeah.
Okay. So I got to do another one, which is the use the slideshow. Okay, good. Doesn't matter. Right. Thank you. Sorry if I overdressed for the occasion. But I thought that this is I'm so grateful to be invited to learn from Brother Joe. I thought that it's appropriate to show my sincerity and also thankfulness that given this opportunity to do a little bit of a sharing. And thanks, Sister Yoke Mei, for inviting me here. And giving me this episode that after going through the details of episode 802, I derived so much joy, and I look at it over and over again, and that's why I thought that it's most appropriate to share the content of this entire episode with you guys. Sister Yoke Mei, just to see, to be honest, just now when you mentioned about the closing the eyes, and then I was so glad that you're giving me a chance. At least I can rest for a while. That we're actually completing the highest record of a vaccination today in the Tang, and we have just returned home, and then I'm so glad to share with you this. Okay, right, let's begin. This is the title, Cultivating the Three Virtues. And okay, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk everybody through with this particular chapter 802, right? Just bear with me, because it's all the words that I'm going to share with you are all basically from what Master has mentioned. As you can see, that after the Buddha's initial enlightenment, when he became one with the universe, he peacefully abides in the state of avatam saka state. Today, he can finally freely express his original intent and teach the Wondrous Lotus Sutra. And we realize that Master always mentioned this, and you hear these things in Sister Yoke Mei's sharing. We hear this Master in this morning Xin Fa Xiang as well, that the Master mentioned about this is the four states of what Buddha has gone through during the his time. And here again in this episode, that is it emphasized on this. What is basically mentioned here is the avatam saka state. The Sakyamuni, when his mind innate enlightenment merged with universe, he peacefully abides in the avatam saka state. And this state contains so many principles of all things in the world. His mind opened up to the ocean of enlightened wisdom. This is the mind of all Buddhas. And this is exactly the word that you see from this particular episode. And it goes further by mentioning this, how to help others experienced the same. Hence, he physically, this is a Buddha, he physically manifested among sentient beings. He teach according to their capacity, and he did it for more than 40 years. Just not of course, it's out of whether we go 40, 45 years or 49 years, but we follow strictly to master's teaching of 49 years. But Buddha took about 40 years just to go through this, skillful means. When I come to this particular state, my contemplation is to say, this is a very unique. I'm going to show you the next slide. This is quite amazing. We realized that before 2003 and during the 2003s, right before 2003, that Master has do not mention or emphasize so much on the vegetarianism. So it's only when it comes to the 2003 during the SARS that Master start to encourage everybody, and she starts saying that to be effectively curbing the SARS, that we ought to be vegetarian. Then after that, it went, correct me if I'm wrong, but it did not really mention so much after that until the 2009 and July the 7th, when the scientists start to mention that the global warming urgency, and here again, Master mentioned it is a must to be on vegetarianism to overcome this. If we do, is this a coincidence that the year 2009 forms is a good 43 years after Master started Tzu Chi in 1966. So she actually trying to advocate this, but it took her 43 years before she mentioned this, but it is a must to be on vegetarianism to overcome this. And what happened after the 2009 and then until the 2019, right? That is a good 10 years. That is, of course, what we observe over and over again is that the intensity of the disaster that happened during this particular period. Years back, it used to be like probably a couple of years that you hear of one major disaster. But see, starting from the millennium, that we probably each year we hear a couple of major disasters. And as it keep on going on and on, that until the year 2019, that we have this is the theme. And here, and if you will move on until the year 2020, there it goes. Master, it's almost like I have a quite comprehensive data that I presented to the patient. It's amazing that the Master has in almost like a daily that she mentioned about this. So because in the past I've been trying to convince people, but people just refuse to listen, and it's easier to convince people to do charity rather than be vegetarian, and this is a good on and on. But look at the last paragraph, 2021. I must say now, it is a must to be on vegetarianism, right? That is what Master mentioned. This is a great lesson. So if I connect this with the previous one, is that I have this kind of a thought that look, Buddha went through this. Is what a coincidence that the Masters, when they mentioned about the vegetarianism, this is such a unique kind of message that it took her so many years before she can actually say it so loudly. And then the question is, of course, do we listen, right? It go on, right? Return to the avatamsaka state. Avatamsaka state. If everyone could apply this teaching, we could likewise return to the avatamsaka state. Thus, it was necessary to teach the Wondrous Lotus Sutra, like the lotus grow from the mud, but not defiled by the mud. We know that this sutra of Avatamsaka was written approximately 500 years after the Buddha has passed away. But what is being described in this particular sutra was just trying to describe the state of the mind. And Master has this very skillfully mentioned to us earlier on, that is and connect it with what is exactly what this sutra is trying to tell us. That is, the state is actually expressed in the Wondrous Lotus Sutra. My contemplation here, when we when I read this, the lotus grew from the mud. I just want to share with you one little story here. Is when I first come into Tzu Chi. In fact, before I get to know Tzu Chi, I get to know quite a fair bit of the Theravada Buddhism. And a lot of the time, we always talk about, okay, we must emulate the lotus that we grow from the mud, and then you don't get yourself dirty, and you still be able to shine and stand still, and it's just a bloom and is admired by everybody. But when I listen to when I first come in, when I listen to what Master mentioned, is to say, we must be gratitude to the mud. I tell you, I got a shock. I said that this is never something that I learned. That is we always say that, okay, you grow from that, and you must be able to behave, and it must be still uphold yourself that with all the precepts. But never that is in my life that I've been told that we got to be gratitude to the mud. And that hits me so hard, and to see that exactly subsequently a few years of following the teaching, I really, really admire this particular concept that leads us to what we are. Okay, that is my just to share with you of my contemplation. We will go on with the Dharma that is mentioned here. The clouds or rain, they are the same as they are water. This cyclic is a kind of a cycle. In this case, it's an English translation. It mentioned as it's a cycle, but in the Mandarin, it mentioned as the Lunhui. But when we mention Lunhui, it's a reincarnation. But I'm not too sure in this whether it's applied as a cycle or in reincarnation. But I didn't I didn't pay too much attention into that. But this is the law of the nature cycle, and this is the Dharma. Well, again, these are when we learn about Dharma, we always come to this particular context of the law of the nature. When the water become is heated up, it go through become the steam, and then it become the cloud, and then it cold, and it return. This is the law of nature, and this is the law of the Dharma. But water is the form that we could see with the naked eye. And we always believe that, and we always cling on to what we see. What recently I have a different kind of understanding, and especially when I read on this particular chapter, most of the time we forgot when the conditions such as the temperature differ, we see a different object, which is our eyes, right? You see, we're always thinking that, okay, what we see is the absolute truth, right? So we just hold on to that, but we always forget that when conditions change, it could be different, right? And we should not cling on to just one perspective. That's what I'm trying to say. And of course, over and over, Shangren always mentioned about the concept of 转念, shift your paradigm and learn to see through and see beyond the object, right? Here it goes, we come back to the original intention of a Buddha. We must not merely benefit ourselves. Everything that we absorb and comprehended form great aspiration, make great vows, and go among people to transform sentient beings. And this is the original intention of Buddha. Again, this reminds me again, we always talk about the self-cultivation, especially with self-improvement and mindfulness, when we come to the master's definition in terms of the, okay, 佛陀本怀, what is the original intention of a Buddha? It is really give me a wake-up call. This is how Buddhism should be defined this way. This episode went on by saying, Master mentioned that earlier expounded, because of the three sufferings in the cycle of birth and death, we have suffered all kinds of fiery afflictions, confused, deluded, and ignorant. And we delighted in it and clung to limited teachings. And this was how Subhuti expressed the Buddha. And since the countless kappas, and we have these three sufferings, and that is the important juice here. The first suffering is the suffering of suffering. The second, which is the suffering of the decay, and the third is the suffering of the actions, right? So of course, it was not elaborated too much, but I do not intend to elaborate here as well. But the lesson that to cast away the excrement of frivolously debating all dharmas, increase our diligence and attain in the single day's wages of nirvana. I tell you, this is such a difficult sentence to understand just from the wording itself. But when we read over and over again, right, it gives me a different kind of a realization. And I remember very well when I first come in, step into the Tzu Chi, always like to say, wow, why is it like that? Why is it like that? And is it really that is what the Buddha's teachings is all about? And then we tend to drill into this is a very philosophical kind of a study. Until this is one occasion, I really remember very well, and I always remind myself. One Sije, this is one day, just hit me by asking me to say, "Are you trying to study Buddhism, or are you trying to comprehend it to the action, compare it to the action?" It's actually mentioned in the Mandarin, which is 师兄，你是在学佛还是在讨论佛学? So that is I don't know how to translate this in English, but it's something that hits me so hard, and then thereon I start to have a certain kind of a realization. And this is exactly what is this sentence is trying to tell us and remind us. A lot of us, we go into those kind of debating and then trying to show off probably how good am I in this particular chapter or whatever. But a lot of the time that we forget that this is the entire intention, that is the Buddha's intention. And the Master went on and reminding and giving us the direction. Starting the Wondrous Lotus Sutra, this is like encountering Buddha in our Dharma assembly. Every word that you see here, I don't think so it will fail to hit you, because this is such an inspiring sentence over here. And I purposely copied down this small portion as a reminder to myself, and I would like to share with you.
佛陀啊，一直来呢，都是安尼甲阮教育，好好思维。那唔通干那伫迄个自法议论，学法爱认真啊，法无用伫咱的心，无用伫咱的行动，干那真够讲啊，却是呢一事无成，还是沉溺伫烦恼中，这叫做议论之佛。干那会晓讲啊，这讲出来呢，拢家己无用着啊，这拢是烦恼啦。
Okay, I'll keep this always with me, and I think it is such a good reminder, right? So Master went on mentioned this particular teaching. Buddha began with methods like the Four Noble Truths and the 12 links of the cyclic existence, as well as the 37 practices of enlightenment. These were taught during the Agama period. then bipolar period, and hearers and the solitary realizers gradually develop clarity about the Dharma and understood it. My contemplation on this particular sentence is whichever state that we are in, the most important is maintain the affinity with Buddha and Dharma. As we believe in lives after lives, one day we can achieve the realization. And Master has shown us a path, and the most important, we must cherish this opportunity to walk the path diligently. So that is my contemplation on this particular verse. Here, the king of our mind. We are the king of our own mind, but we are not able to be in full control of the thoughts. When I listen to this particular sentence, you see, my contemplation is controlling or eliminating defilement is such a difficult task. And this is exactly in the past that we're trying to force ourselves to meditate and trying to get rid of the whether it's anapanasati or whether it's a vipassana, whichever that is a method is we are trying to force ourselves to concentrate. But until that is come to the Tzu Chi way, it's such a unique way. We get ourselves occupied with the 4 missions and the 8 footprints. And the mind has a lesser chance to drift away when it's just like my entire day today, from the early morning until that is the evening. I'm so joyful with when I see the reaction, all the smiles and everything that is you just see. I'm sure that some of you that we have the sharing live telecast today, this afternoon. You could hear from everybody who shares it. It's filled with so much of a joy. So if that is the case, it's unlikely you have other thought of a defilement. But of course, we still need to solve. We can't get rid of those things, and we still need to resolve whatever that we have. The focus here is through this way, we earnestly increase our diligence with focused minds and concentrated thoughts. They cultivated the practice of the past. If the focus of cultivation is on attain certain level of tranquility, this is like nibbana, that bias towards emptiness. So that is again, hitting in the past me, that is you're trying to focus just to achieve that kind of tranquility, right? We must cultivate just like the farmer working diligently without thinking of the result. So that's such a down-to-earth kind of advice. Now, the final portion of the advice from Master in this episode is the 3 virtues. Over 3 great Asankhya Kalpas, we strive to attain the 3 virtues, which are priceless and infinite value. And these are you talk about Dhammakaya, we talk about Prajna, and the liberation, the virtue of a liberation. I just want to mention this is a Dhammakaya, the virtue of a Dhammakaya, which is indistinguishable. I used to attend church and always loved, especially like Les Miserables, this the musical play, and inside that one phrase that hit me so hard is when you see love, you see the face of God. It must sound very familiar to you of this phrase that is in the Les Miserables. That is where the priest singing out, you could actually lure tears. I was so engrossed in this verse until I listened to Master that she says that when you see loving kindness, you see the whole body of a Buddha. Finally, I found something that in Buddhism that is so amazing that could easily replace the override those phrases that I have a hold on to for such a many years. So last but not least, it begins from here and now. Focusing on the self-cultivation, one has to take 60 kalpas in order to attain the state. Not to worry the end, but we must begin from this moment. So that is sorry that I'm taking too much of your time. 感恩。
Okay, thanks to Brother PS. Well, first of all, I remember Les Miserables, and I think the actual song is to love another person is to see the face of God, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was the actual quote. And like you, I was very much engrossed in that lyric itself that carry another meaning to what the word love is. And I really like how you explained with that determination and passion when you explain to see loving kindness, to see the whole body of Buddha. I really like, and it's not just the sentence itself, it's how you explained it. You know, it's how you explain and how you carry that out. So I like to, the couple of things that I would like to go a little bit deeper. Yeah, I know that we're a little and promoting vegetarianism. I'm sure there are reasons. For example, one, if you had started, probably nobody would listen to you and even turn away. And now you promote, people might accept or people might not. And for those that don't accept, at least they won't turn away. So I think there are different various stages for doing these things. And I'm sure there are reasons. And just like what you said, right? It's according to the capacity. But I really like what you have excerpt out of the episode, which is Buddha mentioned after experience the first state, that he began to feel and think about how to help others experience the same thing. Can you go back to your slide on the original intent? There was the part that you talked about the original intent, and there was a part about the Buddha's original intent was not to tell everybody to benefit yourself. And I really, the moment you mentioned that, and I like to run this through my test of logic. So let's do this together. Suppose benefiting yourself first is the quicker way. It's the quicker way to get there, just like what Buddha did, right? The Buddha already reached there. But once you reach the Buddhahood, you realize that it's not just me that get here. My goal eventually is to get everybody there. And then you realize, well, then my getting here first doesn't help that all that often or all that much unless everybody can come together. And therefore you begin a different approach, which is everybody advance together. So I think even if benefiting self indeed gets you there faster, it's once you get there, you realize that that's not the answer. What you needed once you get there is to how to get more people there. And therefore you go back to change your ways. Even if that's the right answer, you still ended up choosing a different answer because that is not the best answer. So that's something that I was going through my mind. And then you talk about water cycle. That was very good too. I think the water cycle goes back to benefiting self. Water cannot complete the cycle by itself. If there is only water, and if there's only one molecule of water, it's not enough to start the rain. If there's only water on its own, there's no sun, then there is no cycle to be spoke of because there is no evaporation. There is no condensation. There's nothing. You cannot complete the cycle without any other elements. It's all together. And lastly, I wanted to talk about what you mentioned about 学佛 and 佛学. I think that's very important. But I would like to talk about the distinction between contemplation and the study of Buddhism. Okay, so as I think it's very important that contemplation is self-reflection, and that is very much needed. And a lot of times it's very abstract. A lot of times it's to dig deeper, is to start thinking about all these logic. What about water? What about the cloud? And what about all these benefiting self and benefiting others? A lot of times you need that step in order for you to reach the next step. So I think that is not considered to be a study, because we're not thinking of it as a study. Let me categorize it and let me present it. No, but it's something that we need to use on ourselves. So even that, I think, is important. It's not just thinking, it's already applying on yourself. Next, Master talks about what good would it do? Sometimes I think that there is some good out of it, because even if you don't do this, you are already doing something by speaking and saying it to other people, so that other people might hear it. You don't know when that seed is going to grow. However, that is not the optimal way, because people might not want to hear you. They might not want to listen to you. Okay, so I think there are many things that there isn't only one way. However, this is the most direct and expedient way to go. And this is the path where it's the most people can get the optimal and maximize all the benefit for all sentient beings. Instead of just getting one out of all, like one Buddha and trying to get everybody, rather doing that, it should be all going at the same time. So thank you, Brother P.S. I think you did a phenomenal and very wonderful job. Especially, I think you are not just talking about repeating the words that Master said. What you're doing is you put your heart into it, and I can feel your feelings and sincerity. So please do not, I think we really appreciate you completely dressed for the occasion. That just shows your sincerity and shows your dedication. So thanks, Brother P.S. and thanks to everybody. Thank you.
Utmost gratitude. Brother P.S., would you like to share a little bit before we end the session?
Thank you, Brother Joe. Truly, I take note of all the words that you mentioned, and it's always amazed me by that you're able to take a lot of those points from a very unique perspective. That is I always enjoy your sharing, because you're able to see from a very different perspective, and always put me fall off the chair. And wow, you can actually, especially your Pen Zai Yu is something that I listen and I actually trim them into small sections, so that it can remind me, and then I can apply it and then share it with our Tzu Chi as well. Yeah, thank you so much, Brother Joe. Right.
Wow, truly amazing. I'm sure everyone enjoys as much as I do. Indeed, but time is grow as such. It's already 9. The original intention is to maybe we leave some time for the group to discuss. But it's okay. Tomorrow we still have another morning session, a Dharma session with wonderful, powerful sharing. 感恩 Brother Joe. Despite Brother Joe busy schedule, Brother Joe still make it. All of us that joined today, 真的是 we really treasured and learned a lot. Brother PS, yeah, come more often. And Sister Yoke Mei, great sharing. I have really received feedback from other teams saying, oh, dear, these two persons have set the standard so high. Maybe the future team also was thinking how to share. Okay, but very grateful. We learn from each other. That is how we encourage everyone, each other on this journey. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for your presence and for your time. Hope that each of us could sustain this Dharma joy and take in another piece of Dharma Master and Huan and love to our life. Let us invite Brother Joe to lead us in paying homage. Let us please make 3 bows to the Buddha and our Master as we depart to apply these teachings in our daily life. Let us pay our respects to our teachers of life universal truth. First bow, second bow, and third bow. 感恩 everyone and see everyone next tomorrow morning. 感恩大家，祝福。
Okay, bye bye.
Take care.
Bye. Good night. Good night.
Good
Bye bye.
night.